And yes, I want to tell you that today we are going to continue working on modal verbs. This is our main topic and we'll continue with that. That's not going to stop. But today we are going to practice in a different way. I'm going to have you practice in pairs. And also, by the end of the class, we are going to be talking about a kind of classwork that I'm going to give you. So yeah, today's class is very practical. I want you to do things with your English. I want you to start working on your English and using it, of course. So let's go to this document. Well, before going to that document, first let me go to the book so we remember where we are related to the book. So you don't forget that we are still basing our course on the book. So we are working on Unit 5, where practically everything that you need to do here is work with modal verbs. And 2 classes ago, we were working on could and should for suggestions. For example, for when you have a problem and you need someone to help you out, you can use should to ask another person's advice. So for example, what should I do with my computer if it's not working correctly? I'm asking you to give me advice. And also you can use could to give advice, not only to ask for advice. So you could take your computer to a tech support, for example. So you can use could for giving advice and should for asking for advice. And well, you can also use should in the negative form, like you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't unplug your computer, etc. But you cannot use couldn't in the negative form. That is also something that we talked about last class. So yeah, that's basically what we did in this unit. We were just reviewing these 2 verbs, modal verbs. Then we moved on to the second lesson. In second lesson in the book, you only have will, may, and might. But last class, I was talking to you about all modal verbs and not only will and may. So yeah, so that's something that we are going to look at next week. When I'm also going to show you how to use probably, most probably, likely, etc. But that's next week. And finally, on this unit, we could have been talking about have to and need to for obligation and necessity, depending on what's our point of view. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We talked about have to and need to by the end of last class. And that's pretty much what we did by the end of the class. We didn't review much of this, but there's not much to say. Like, as I told you, you need to conjugate have to or has to. Also the same with need to and needs to. It needs to be conjugated. And yeah, that's it with it. So when you want to make it negative, you have to add don't or doesn't. So I don't have to work tonight, or she doesn't have to go to the cinema tonight, for example. All right, so it's just a matter of using the auxiliary verbs with need to and have to. But they are still considered modal verbs, right? So that's with the unit. So you can see that we are basing our review of the modal verbs on Unit 5, so it's related. So that's why last class we were checking most of the modal verbs. So, and today, well, last class I was working with a presentation. Let me see if I can get it. And it's here. So last class I was showing you this presentation where you had to consider some modal verbs for some specific uses. For example, we had the use of will and would for willingness, predictions, and we have would for invitations and all the things related to invitation. So yeah, we had those. And then we had a look at modal verbs for possibility and impossibility. So can't is the only one that is possible to use for impossibility, and couldn't also in the past. But may and might, they are not so common to be used in the negative form, so I do not really recommend it. It's more for possibility and impossibility. Yeah, so then we were talking about the degrees of possibility and impossibility that we can talk about. We were focusing on the affirmative form, so we were focusing on possibility. And we said that when something is very possible, we say can. Then we have could. Right after we have may and might, just the end at the bottom of these degrees of possibility. So depending on how sure you are about something, you have to choose one or the other, right? So if you are very sure that something may be true, so you can use can. For example, my sister is very late. She can be stuck in traffic, for example. I think it's very possible because at this time, everybody's like going home, so it is possible. Or I'm not so sure, so she could be with some friends. I mean, sometimes she goes out with friends, so it could be. If I'm not really sure about where she is, I can say, well, she may be at a party. She may be at a party. I'm not so sure, but it's Friday, so probably. And when I'm the least sure, I have to use might. So she might be with her friends eating some sushi, for example. I know she doesn't like sushi, so that's not very common. But I know that her friends like sushi, so probably they are there. It's the least possible situation, but still there is a chance. All right, so that's how we are going to use these modal verbs for possibility or impossibility. So you have to make sure that you know the degree of certainty that you have about a situation. How can you have certainty about a situation? By checking out evidence. So you know that there's some evidence about something being true, so you can use it. That's the deal. What else? We also talked about obligation, and yeah, I told you that it's not very common to use shall in English, so I don't recommend using it. And also it's not about obligation, so it shouldn't be really here. So when we are talking about obligation, we most commonly use must, ought to, and should. Must is very strong. Ought to is quite strong too, but it's not very used nowadays. It's old-fashioned. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend using it. And then we have should for obligation or advice. So I should practice my English more often. Like I know this is something that I should do. But if I say I must practice my English more often, it's like I really know that this is true. It's a strong obligation. So yeah, that's how it works. Then another way in which you can express obligation, it was related to the verbs have to and need to. So need to is not really about obligation, it's more about a necessity. So I need to do something. Whereas I have to is kind of an obligation, but more related to a responsibility. Like it's my duty. I have the responsibility to do something, so I know I should. But it's very weak compared to must and should. So it's a little bit different in that matter because must is like a strong obligation and should is a strong obligation. So have to, it's like, yeah, I know I have to do it, but it's not quite strong. That would be the difference between those. So yeah, I also told you last class that we are focusing on possibility, and obligation. But there are other uses of the modal verbs that we are not paying attention to because, yeah, if we study all of them, it would be a little overwhelming. So you also have ability, which is something that I'm not going to focus on because you know that you can use can for ability, like I can run very fast, or she can speak 4 languages. So that's ability. So yeah, we're not mentioning ability in this case, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or it's not important. No, it's not like that. It's really important. What else? Yeah, we can also use could for past ability. So we can talk about when I was a child, for example. When I was a child, I could run very fast. It is possible, right? So yeah, it all depends on the context on what you mean when you're using these modal verbs. Yeah, so that's what we studied last class. And now I wanted to show you this document that I have created because it's like a summary of modal verbs. Let me make it bigger so you can see it clearer. And yeah, so this summary tells you a little bit more about modal verbs in general, so we can kind of check them. So we have that modal verbs are never about facts. They are never about facts. Does anybody know what facts means in Spanish?
Hechos.
Hechos. There you go. Yes. So we are not talking about facts when we are using modal verbs because we are talking about probability, possibility, impossibility, obligation, suggestions, advice, etc. But not facts. I am not describing something as it is. I'm just giving an approximation to a suggestion, to an advice, etc., but not a fact. So careful with that. Then another characteristic of modal verbs is that they are about the speaker's or the listener's opinion at the moment of speaking. For example, David has long hair. David has long hair. This is a fact about David. I see it and I know he has long hair. This is for sure. So here we are using has, which is not a modal verb. So it is a fact. Whereas if I say something like David must get a haircut, I'm using a modal verb must. It's kind of strong. I think it's his obligation, but it's the speaker's opinion, okay? Not because I say that David must get a haircut, he is going to do it. It's not necessary. It's still his decision. Now, I'm just expressing my opinion or what I think or what I see, etc. But it's not something that David is obliged to listen to or to consider even. It's my opinion. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say modal verbs are never about facts. They are about opinions that we have about things. For example, again, if I say my sister is late, she may be at a party. This is still my opinion, even if I have some evidence, because I know she likes parties. I know it's Friday, so it's very possible that she's at a party. It's still my opinion. If I'm sure that she's at a party, I'm not going to use modal verbs. I am going to say she is at a party. So I'm going to go straight to the fact. She is at a party. That's true. But she may be at a party. That's what I think, but I'm not completely sure. I can't say. Right? So that's the difference between a fact, like the second sentence, and an opinion, like the first sentence. Completely different again. Right? So careful with that. Keep it in mind because It is kind of an important thing. What else can we say about modal verbs? We can say that they can be used to talk about possibility, again, obligation, ability, suggestions, to make invitations, to ask for permission, to make predictions, etc. Right? So we have many uses of the modal verbs depending on the context that we are using. So use modal verbs with the base form of other verbs like be, go, come, cry, talk, etc. So the base form, that means that is not the infinitive, not the gerund, not any conjugation. The base form is necessary here. And there we are. All right, so these are like general rules about modal verbs. Do we have any question or comments about this? All right, so let's continue. What are some examples of modal verbs? Some examples are can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, would. So you can see that I put them on a chart. So we have can, could, may, might, must, there's that, shall, should, will, would. So they have some kind of correspondence in the sound and everything. So now we are going to part them into categories. So if we have possibilities, I'm going to add can here in the car. Just because last class we were using it, so let me add it right now. My mouse is killing me. There you go. And also we talked about could, so I'm going to add it. My keys could be in the car. All right, so we have can for possibility, could, must, may, and might. That's how we view them. So again, there are some percentages that I wrote down, but you know, they are just approximation. We are not sure when we use them that this is how it should be. This is not mathematics, this is language, so it always depends on the context. So when something is possible, we can use can, could, must, may, and might. When something is impossible, we have to use can't, and that's it, right? So use can in the negative, and it is impossible. So if I say, my keys can't be in the car, it's because I know it is not possible. I didn't even take them to my car, so they can't be there. But they could be in my wallet, for example. I don't know. Yeah, so it depends on the context. Then we have some modal verbs for obligation. So for obligation, we can use must and should. Must and should. And yeah, you know that must is very strong and should is not so strong. I didn't add ought to because I told you ought to, it's very old-fashioned, so it's not necessary that you use it really. So in obligation, I only included must and should. Of course, we can also have to. If it's not a very strong thing, it's just a responsibility. So you have to do your homework. Like, remember, you have that responsibility. Try to accomplish it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to copy. Let's see if it works this time. Yes. And so let's include have to just in case. I'm not pretty sure about this one though. What else? We have ability. We can use modal verbs to talk about ability. So to talk about ability, we can use can in the affirmative form. I can run very fast. We can also use can't in the negative form. So I can't run very fast. And we can use could when you talk about the past, like a past ability. And in that case, you can say, I could run very fast when I was a child. I could run very fast when I was a child. Or you can also use it in the negative form. I couldn't run very fast as a child. Like I've never been able to run fast. Not when I was a child, not now. Right? So that's how we are going to talk about ability. We have can and can't for the present, could and couldn't for the past. What else? We have suggestions also. So another category would be suggestions, and for suggestions, I have suggested, should, could, and that's it. Should for advice, like you should call your mom, she's sick, like that's what I think, and that's the advice I want to give you. Or we can use could also for advice. We could watch a movie next weekend. Like, yeah, it's a suggestion. What do you think? We could watch a movie. Or I also included could in the question because it is also possible sometimes. Like if I wanted to check your homework, but I don't have time tonight, so I would say, could we see your homework on Monday and we can talk about it? I'm asking you if this is all right, still making a suggestion. It is perfectly possible. So it works. Could we see your report next Monday? Or should I call my mom? Do you think she's fine? Should I go out tonight? Stuff like that. All right. So it is possible for suggestions, of course. Then we have another category, which is invitations and requests. So for invitations, the options are could and would. So with could, you can say, could you send me a message when you get home, please? Could you send me a message when you get home? Or I could invite you to do something with me. Like, would you help me with these bags, please? Like, I need your help. Would you help me? Or could we go to the movies to do something together? So it is possible. So invitations and requests go in the question form. Don't forget that. Then we have permission. Of course, we can use modal verbs for permission. For example, can I leave early tonight? Can I leave early tonight? I'm asking for your permission to do this. Or could I leave early today? Also possible. Or also possible to say, may I leave early tonight? So what is the difference between can, could, and may? Just the politeness. Could is very polite when you are asking for permission. Like, could I leave early tonight? Extremely polite. Can is the regular one. Like, it's not polite, it's not impolite, it's just the regular one. And may, it is also a little formal. It's not so polite, but it is formal. All right, so it is important to keep it in mind. And yeah, those are the categories that I arranged for you to be able to practice tonight. So again, remember that modal verbs are never about facts. They are about things that we think may be possible or may not be possible, right? Not about facts. They are about our opinion about situations. This is what we think about situations, but they are not about facts. Yeah, we have categories in which we can use them, and remember that they always work with the base form of the verb. There is no where to go here. It's mandatory to remember it's the base form. All right, so yeah, this is like a brief summary of modal verbs. I wanted to show you that it is completely possible to work on modal verbs thinking about the meaning that we want to imply. That's the most important thing. So whenever you are trying to choose a modal verb, you need to keep this information in mind, like which is the most correct modal verb or the most natural one, etc. It is necessary for you to think about those things. What else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It sounds a little tricky, but it's not, I promise. It's something that we can handle with practice. The more we practice, the easier it becomes. All right, so do we have questions or comments here? Anything to say about modal verbs?
Valeria,
Yes, tell me, Clau.
question. Why must and should is possibility and obligation in the same time?
At the same time, yes. All right. Yeah, that's the deal with modal verbs. They don't only have one meaning or one use. It depends on the context. So one thing in one sentence can mean something. For example, if I say you must do your homework, this definitely means obligation. Yeah, regarding to the context, because of the words that I'm using, because I'm your teacher. So if I say that, it's kind of implied that it is about obligation. But, well, we also have should here for suggestions or advice, and this becomes really less strong. So it's not the same if I tell you, you should do your homework as the teacher, because if I say that, you already know that there's an obligation implied, because I have like some kind of power over this relationship. But if we are friends, we don't have power one over the other. It's a regular relationship. So if we are friends and I use should, this is definitely an advice. You should go to the doctor. I'm not implying that this is your obligation because I'm your friend. I'm giving you an advice because I'm worried about you. All right. So it always depends on the context. Who uses it? Why do we use it? So yeah, it's kind of the tricky part about modal verbs. They are very thorough about the use. Right? So we need to keep that in mind. Is that helpful, or is not that what you were asking for, Clau?
No, thank you. That's okay.
Good. Thank you for your question. So yeah, we need to keep in mind that the context is going to tell us what we mean or what another person means. And it also depends on the relationship that you have with another person. Yep. So all of them depend on the context. That's why we can have a can for permission, but we also have can for ability, but we also have can for possible situations in the future or in the present. Right? So how do I know which meaning I'm referring to? It depends on the context. That is something that we need to figure out from the context. There's no way to go here. Yes, so do we have any other question or comments here? Let me check the chat. We are fine. All right, yeah, it is important that tonight this topic is very clear for all of you, because I'm gonna give you a homework or a classwork that it needs to be completed tonight. So last Friday, I asked everybody like, can I give you homework? And people told me, no, please don't give us homework. We don't have time. Yes? Tell me, Sharon.
Excuse me. We use the moral verb, for example, must. You must be in the car. My kids must be. It's a possible obligation. Aquí, you must do your homework, for example. I can say I have to do my homework.
Yes. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Possible?
It is possible. So yeah, like we have here. When you say I have to do my homework, it's a very weak obligation. It's like a responsibility.
Okay. I can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, as we mentioned last class, yeah, have to refers to more like a responsibility instead of a strong obligation, whereas must is very strong obligation. Yeah, so what was I saying? I was saying that yeah, last Friday I asked you, like, can I give you homework? People told me like, no, we don't have time. We can't do homework during the weekend. So I'm going to give you homework that you need to complete during the class time, if you wish. I used to do this with my advanced course like 2 semesters ago, because also they were very busy. They didn't have time for completing homework. So what we did was trying to spend some of the time in class doing homework, because that's the way we can practice. And now after the first exam, I have found something that I want you guys to practice, which is something very important for me. I'm gonna tell you why. Let me go to the LMS platform so I can show you what I am talking about. Let's get to that point. Where is it here? Yeah. So what I want to talk about now is this this last question that we had on the exam, which is related to completing some or actually to writing some text about a certain topic, because I wanted you to be able to communicate in written English. The problem that I faced is that some texts that I got were two lines. That's probably less than 50 words. And you are intermediate students. So when I ask you to complete or to write a text, I'm asking you to write a lot so I can check on your skills to write. If you don't write a real paragraph, you know that a real paragraph has at least 10 lines, at least, then I cannot really evaluate what you know, what you do. Also, when I was reading your texts, I noticed that some people were using, if not translator, something else, because yeah, their structures were very beautiful. And when I hear you speaking, you don't speak like that, so it's a little weird. All right, so whenever I have you speaking with another person, I'm checking on you, I'm listening, I'm writing, I'm trying to get to know you a little well. So if then for the exam you are going to give me an excellent text that I wouldn't even be able to write because it's too beautiful and too advanced, then it's weird. All right, so careful with that, because I tend to know my students. So I tend not to evaluate on expectations. Like when I tell my students to write something, they always ask me, how long, how many words, what vocabulary? Well, I'm not sure. You have to show me how much English you know. So the more you write, the better. I mean, for me, it takes a little longer to read your text when they are very long, but it's better because I can give you more feedback. I can see how well you're using English. So if you show me your effort, I can help you more. But if you write 2 lines or less than 50 words, it's difficult, very difficult for me to be able to evaluate your writing and also your speaking. So that's why I want to focus on writing each week. Each week we are going to write something and trying to develop our writing skills, our use of the English language. Helmut, tell us.
But teacher,
However, yes.
I know that what you're trying to tell us, but it didn't specify about how long should write or maybe something like that. So that's my first experience about of writing in this case.
Yeah.
So I think it could be more clear about this, because just it says write a paragraph talking about your milestones, also mention things you have or haven't done in your life. Maybe if you wanted to know about in this case, more things about the past, you can emphasize about that. So, but it didn't tell nothing about this, just write the paragraph. It could be 2 lines, why not?
No, because a
Yes.
paragraph is not 2 lines. If I
Why
wanted
not?
2 lines, I would say write 2 sentences.
But in this case, could be 4 lines, yeah. Okay.
No, a paragraph in academic writing, and because we are adults, we know that a paragraph it's a block, like 10 lines at least.
At least,
At
really?
least, yes.
Where's that?
Because we know that a paragraph it's like that when in academic writing, and this is a university, so I'm not talking to children, so that's why I expect something longer. A paragraph for
Okay.
me it's
Okay,
a
okay.
block. Yeah. Otherwise, if I wanted you to write 2 lines, I would use the word sentences, write sentences.
Okay, but I think it is for everybody. You can't say at least I don't know, maybe 15 lines or something like that. As you
Yes.
said, we can't we can write a whole page of history, or maybe our illusion or something that we wanted to tell. I don't know, because most of us we aren't in this case compositor, how you can say
Writers.
writers, yeah, right. And it's difficult maybe to write. Well, you understand me.
Yeah.
Thanks
I do.
for
No.
acceleration of that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for telling me. That is why I know that Helmut. So yeah, don't think that I didn't take it into account when reading the answers, because when I was reading the answers, in some answers I was really disappointed. But I read the question again and I said, well, okay, I wasn't specific, that's true. But yeah, I was expecting you to know what a paragraph is.
Valeria,
And yeah, give me a second. And I was expecting everybody to know that if I'm talking about milestones, and if all of us are grown-ups, we have a few milestones to talk about. It's not like I was born in 1989 and yeah, that's my milestone. I don't think so. Like I'm expecting you to say something else. So yeah. And also I said this, like mention things that you have done, things you haven't done. So I was expecting you not only to use the past simple with milestones, but also the have and haven't for the present perfect. So I was expecting everybody to mix those things. But yeah, I know that probably I was not specific enough, so I wasn't too hard on the marks, I think. Anyways, you still have to check your marks, and if you don't agree with me, let me know and we can talk about it. Yuri, tell me.
Valeria, at the bottom of the space, when you are writing, are interesting data. Say words. 21.
Yeah. Yes.
This information exists when we write when we write our paragraphs, because you can use this data and say write a paragraph with 100 words talking about your milestones.
Yeah. It is possible. The problem with those kind of questions is that then I have students worrying that, well, I have 98 words. Is it okay? Can I send it? Like, yeah. So I always have problems when I give some kind of limit. People start worrying. Well, but I wrote 107 words. Is that okay? So yeah, that's why I don't give limits, because I still get people worrying too much about the limits. Yeah, whenever I tell you to write a paragraph, I'm going to tell you at least or more than 10 lines. So I'm going to try to be more specific about that. More than 10 lines, and then we'll see how it goes. And also I'm going to be more specific about connectors, because since I said well, I thought that everybody knew what a paragraph was. And I thought that you knew that a paragraph, it's like a blog, everything together, but I had people writing stuff like this, just making a list. I was born in blah, blah, blah. I learned to work in blah, blah, blah. And then they gave me a list of things. And that's okay, I'm happy for you, but that's not what I expected. I said a paragraph, and a paragraph, it's supposed to have sentences, connectors, verbs, like everything together. Like when we read a text, we have a whole blog on a paragraph. So yeah, again, when I noticed that, I wrote a comment and I said, well, this is not what I was expecting, but I still gave you some points for trying, but next exam, it's not going to be like that. So that's why I'm telling you now, so we can make sure that we are going to make a bigger effort to write. And also that's why I gave you 15 questions, like they were very easy to answer. You just needed to check what you knew, your notes, etc. You answer those, and then when you answer those questions, you have at least half an hour to write a paragraph. But I noticed that some people didn't spend half an hour writing a paragraph. Maybe they spent 2 minutes. So yeah, that's a decision that people took, and we need to be conscious about that, because writing takes a long time. It's a difficult skill that we need to develop. So if we don't spend time writing, then it's hard for me to review those, because yeah, I know that you can make lists. That's why you are in this course, because you know the present, you know the past, but now I need to see if you can write a paragraph, if you can use connectors, other stuff. There is something that we call active skills, and something that we call passive skills when it comes to learning English. So in English, we have 4 skills: writing, reading, listening, and speaking. Those 4 are divided into groups, active and passive. Does anybody know which ones among those 4 are passive skills? Any ideas about this?
Listen?
Yeah, listening, it's passive. Very good. Any other one that is passive?
Reading also
Reading?
would be.
Yeah, reading. It's definitely that one. So listening and reading. And then we have the active ones. Which are the active ones? The ones that are not listening and reading.
Yeah,
Which one
yeah.
are those?
Speaking,
Speaking,
writing.
writing.
Yes. Writing and speaking. There you go.
We don't like too much to write it. Well, we must do it.
We must do it. Yes. Yeah. So why do we divide them into active and passive skills? It's because passive skills, when you are using passive skills, you are receiving information. You are listening, you are receiving the information. You are reading, again, receiving the information. Whereas when you are writing and speaking, you are producing the information. That's why they are called active skills. And that's why they are difficult, because it's not the same to have to think and speak, have to think and write. So you are producing your own ideas, even if it's something about, for example, your opinion about someone's hair. Still you have to produce, because you have to put things together, create. And in this class, I want you to focus a lot on active skills, because they are the ones that are very difficult to develop. And we don't get the chance to develop them outside a classroom. I don't know if you have someone to practice with at home, if you speak English in other places. I'm not sure, but usually we don't have that chance. So this is when you need to do it. And yeah, as Helmut says, writing is difficult. It is. I'm not saying it's not difficult. I know, I'm very aware that it's difficult. Also, speaking is very difficult. But that's why we need to put more effort into those two skills, because they are the ones that are going to help us when we need to have a conversation, when we need to present our project, etc. So yeah, writing and speaking are very necessary. Yeah, so that's why next time, next exam, I'm going to be very clear about what I mean by a paragraph. Sometimes with my younger students, what I do is to give them an example. But that's a tricky thing, because when I give my students an example, sometimes they copy my example. So that's also something that I'm not sure I can do, because then I have very beautiful texts, but just because they are using the same structures that I used. So yeah, I want you to be creative in this one. And if you're going to make a mistake, that's fine. That's why I'm here for. I want to read your text, correct your mistakes. So it's not a problem. The problem that we have in like normal education is that we think that we have to do everything perfect or the teacher will hate us. That's not true, at least not for me. If you make mistakes, that's better, because I have chances to correct your mistakes and help you improve and say, well, this is not correct because of this. This is the option that you should have used. All right, so if you are going to write a text with a lot of mistakes, that's fine. I'm not going to give you a bad mark for trying, because I know how difficult it is. I know that putting things together, following grammar rules, it's the hardest thing, because we don't know the grammar so well. So yeah, you don't have to be the perfect student to get the perfect marked. I'm still going to give you points. I'm still going to value your effort. But if you don't give me something to correct from, then it's going to be very hard for me to do my job, which is help you correct your mistakes. So yeah, next time we'll focus on that. Sorry for taking so long to talk about this, but yeah, I was very worried when I read your texts. Not all of them, of course. So if you wrote a perfect, beautiful text, don't worry. I'm probably not talking about you, but yeah, it was like a regular fashion for most people to write something like very quickly, just a few words, and that's it. But yeah, I put some effort into that. That's why I'm going to give you homework that you need to complete during the class time. And that's going to be writing, of course. So I'm going to have you write different texts. I'm going to give you prompts like this. Write a paragraph about this topic. And of course, I'm going to tell you more than 10 lines, please. And I'm going to tell you use some connectors, like the basic ones, or probably I'm going to give you, yeah, use connectors of contrast. And I'm going to give you a list of connectors. So you can also start including connectors and not just making lists, because yeah, I know you can make beautiful lists, but now we have to take those lists to something more complicated and therefore a little bit more advanced. Yeah. So yeah, that's my my next objective in this class, and I'm hoping that you like it and you don't think like I'm being mean, because I'm not trying to be mean, I promise. All right, so let me save this so the question is not deleted. Yeah. All right, so what's gonna happen? I'm going to share this document with you, with all of you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Do you remember, guys, that we have a folder together? Maybe you have forgotten.
On Drive, yes.
On Drive, yes. Yeah, we do. So here, I have shared this with you. If you have forgotten about it, go and find it. If you don't know where to find it, let me know and I can send you the the link again so we can get to this, because we are going to practice writing and we are going to write on Drive. For me, it is very easy to work on Drive because, yeah, when I need to give you comments or review or make corrections, I know where to find it. It's a little bit more difficult for me when you send me things on WhatsApp or on email because I need to download them, then send it back. So on Drive, it's easier. Everything is saved automatically. You don't need to send me anything. And that's how we're going to do. So I'm going to use my folder to give you the example of the thing that you need to do now. We're going to use the last half an hour of the class to write a text. So you go to your personal folder on Drive and you create a Google document here. You create it. And then you can write modal verbs or whatever title you want to use. So what you are going to do, based on the document that I'm going to share with you, this one, you need to write a text about a situation. What kind of situation? Like the situations that we talked about last class. So you have to create a situation and then write a text, not a list of sentences like this, a text explaining what could have happened to a person in the situation, a given person, right? So for example, this is the situation that we talked about last class. My friend is sick, she's having some symptoms, etc. So what I think is this. Let me use this one and give you an example of what I expect you to write. So this is my situation. What the meeting is about. Let me write it correctly because this is in the middle of everything. Yeah. So this is my situation. I want you to do this. Create your situation. I'm meeting my boss tomorrow because she wants to see me. I'm not sure what the meeting is about. So my text is going to be about why I think my boss wants to meet me. For example, I'm going to say last week, we were talking about the final exams with my colleagues. So that's why I think my boss could be interested in discussing this topic with me. Okay, so instead of just making a list of sentences like we did last class, which is something we all can do, now I want you to develop the idea, right? So I'm using the modal verb in between a sentence, in between the whole idea. Then if you want to continue, you can say also, I know this is Catholic University. So they are worried about pastoral stuff. Excuse my language, but I don't know how to say pastoral stuff in more dedicated language. So pastoral stuffs. Therefore, for example, my boss might be willing to discuss activities with us. I don't know, etc. So I'm using might as a possibility instead of just writing a small sentence with just 5 words or 7 words, right? So that's what I want you to do. Of course, you can still develop. I recommend having something like this, like ideas first, just ideas, like what I have here, right? So I have ideas. Now I turned these ideas into a paragraph by adding a situation, a conversation that I had with another person, an experience that I had some other time, etc. So basically, I'm showing some more evidence about why I think this is what my boss wants to talk about, right? So I'm putting the evidence like in a more obvious way, if you wish, right? So that's what I want you to do. What I'm going to be reading is the situation and the paragraph that you can put together. Also, oh, I don't know, it's here. Oh my gosh. Oh, recuento de palabras. This is the one. I'm not used to using this in Spanish. Yeah, so now I can see how many words I have. So if you want to keep track, maybe you want to write 100 words, that's perfectly correct. I want a paragraph, at least 10 lines. Of course, if you have 9 lines, but it's a very good paragraph, that's perfect. Don't worry. It's not like when I say 10 lines, it doesn't have to be that or nothing. It could be 9 very good lines, 8 very good lines, 11, etc. But I want something that you have thought about, that you have produced, that you have worried about. All right, so yeah, that's the idea. Do we have questions about this?
I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion.
Yes?
Could you please share your presentation and your Word, your document?
Yeah, both things. Yes.
Show us right now.
Yes.
How do you say it? Before 3 minutes ago?
As soon as possible, maybe.
Yeah,
As
maybe.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I'm going to share those on WhatsApp, so it's easier to get to them instead of going to LMS, because you have to work on Drive. So yeah, that's something I will do right after we finish. Also, this document is available, so if you want to watch it or give it a look, you go to the students folder, you go to the the folder that has my name on it, and you can access it. What else? Yeah, so that's
Sure.
it.
Please show,
Sorry?
show please your presentation.
Sorry, can you repeat? I couldn't hear you.
Show me your share presentation. Okay. A ver, we must do a situation, for example, using have might can, and another situation when we use can, could, may, might.
No, you have to write only one situation and one paragraph using adverbs for impossibility or possibility, or if you want to write about obligation, you may write about obligation. Only one. It could be about obligation, it could be about possibility or impossibility. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes. So yeah, only one paragraph, a fair paragraph, just to start. I'm not going to be hard on the first paragraph. When do you have to do this? Does anybody know?
Maybe at after that instruction.
Yes, like right now. I want it for yesterday. So you have to do it tonight. I'm gonna give you from now until the class is over, until 8:30 to finish up. So what I do with my advanced students is that we finish the class half an hour before, and I give you this extra time to go and work. So I make sure that tomorrow, when I want to read your text, they are there, right? So do it now, finish now, and I will be checking them tomorrow, okay? Any other question before we go to write?
Valeria,
Yes.
Vale,
Mhm.
this text, we put this text on your folder, on your.
Not on my folder, on your folder. So you have to
Okay.
write it here, where it says
Okay.
Yuri.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. So all of you are writing in your own folder. So I'm writing here because that's mine. But yeah, if you are Carla, then you write on Carla's folder. Yeah, any other comments, question?
Yeah. What's the instruction? Are you going to give us the instruction? Sorry, I don't know what's happening to me.
What do you mean? What instruction?
To write right now, or no,
Oh.
just from us. That's the same.
That's instruction. You need to write a situation and then write a whole
Okay.
text.
I
Yeah.
thought it would be another instruction.
No, that is it. So the situation, then the paragraph, and that's it.
Okay.
Mhm. All right. Any other question? Any complaints, maybe?
Valeria
Yes.
is help. Where is document? Docs, Google document.
Where is it? I sent an invitation to your email when we started the class.
No,
So
okay. Habían in my folder.
Okay.
But how
Yep.
I create the document?
Yes. How can you create it? By doing this. So you go to your folder, you
Yes.
right click, and this is Google Docs option, and it's going to be created right away.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Teacher,
Okay.
sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Tell me.
When we should present it, I didn't listen the day, sorry.
Right now. So you have until 10:30, 8:30 to finish up. Of course, if you want to take a little longer, you can, but it has to be done tonight during the.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, more comments, questions before we leave and get to work?
Please share us the presentation. Please, 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 please.
Okay, stop telling me what to do. No, I'm joking.
Sorry. I started telling you sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah. All right. So get to work. I'm going to be leaving you. I'm going to share the document. Sorry, there's something on my. Okay. My computer is going crazy. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Let's finish up to this point. When you are writing, what I do with my other students is that if they have any questions, they write to me a message on WhatsApp and I reply right away. I'm going to be checking also your folder, so I want to see you working. But yeah, let's leave the meeting. Let's get to work. I'm going to share the documents right away. So let's call it a day.